because I tell her that often. Now she can believe it because I'm saying it on public forum. So Sam, take it away.
Thanks, Barry. Hey, everyone. My name is Samantha Collin. I'm a solutions engineer here at DemoStack. Shout out to any of the customers or prospects I've worked with. Thanks for joining and listening. Today, our session's titled Do Better with Less, Scaling Data-Driven Demos Faster. And I'm joined by some wonderful panelists. We have some women in the room, so shout out to all of us representing. We have Emily Dunn, the Director of Sales Engineering at Pendo. We have Eric Myers, the Senior Solutions Consultant at Treasure Data. And we have Sara Jones, the Global VP of Presales at Zendesk, and that's self-described as a lifer of presales, or a presales lifer. So I feel I am one on my way to a lifer as well. So before we get into questions, I want to highlight this title, Do Better with Less. The title is not Do More with Less, right? We are already doing that. Everyone knows that tech layoffs, they've been increasing. They're still happening today. So we have been doing more with less for a while. So this session is really about doing better with less and how we can scale our operations and what it actually means to scale and who's involved and what type of governance and people that are needed to make this process happen. So that's the focus for today. It's doing better with less, not just doing more, because we're already doing that. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily first from Pendo. Can you help me break down where in the deal cycle you're showing your demos?
Yeah, so if you asked us that question 2 years ago, it probably would have been very different than it is now. But I will say, there's a lot of different like places that somebody could consume the product, right? So there's obviously the marketing use case, like the product tour kind of experience. We did about a year or so ago implement an option that as soon as somebody requests a demo, they actually get a micro demo library sent to them. So about 2 to 3 minute video content. Part of that came from just the idea that somebody would request a demo and then not immediately get a demo. We wanted to mitigate that. But another part of that came from we just were growing like crazy and we couldn't do a demo for everybody and we had too many new hires. So it was to help with some of that. And then of course, the regular demos that we do and we all know and love as SEs. But I'd also say that what we leave behind is still a type of demo, right? Are we giving them access into a free trial, a PLG free experience, a sandbox, etc.? And those are all strategies that come up in our plays.
What did it take to get there to have these different demos at different places in the funnel?
Yeah. So I can't take any credit for the marketing stuff. But in terms of like the micro demos or demo environments, like one unique thing that we struggled with is we had one demo environment. We've done it for a long time. We provide analytics and in-app guidance with our software. So we have to also have a second application to show how our product works on it. So it's not just our demo environment, but it's our fake demo app that we're supposedly working on. And there just wasn't like a technical way for us to scale out different versions of that for everyone. And so there was a lot of concern around, all right, we just hired 100 salespeople. Like, how are we going to make sure they aren't deleting things that other people need? So what we initially started off with was just this idea we were going to hire demo engineers. So the way we solved it was actually with people, with humans. I had 2 full-time demo engineers, development experience. They built our own demo assistant Chrome extension that actually blocked reps from being able to click on certain buttons in our production application. That was amazing. But then also, started looking into how can we inject data in, right? So we were working with, our production environment and, shipping things rapidly, and then essentially skunk working everything into, put some guardrails there. And I recognize too that not everybody has the benefit of being able to hire people. So I feel very blessed to have had that in the boom of 2021 tech hiring. So.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's a great story. Sara, you have a very large team. Can you describe your demo operations and how you all function?
Sure. I'm actually going to use the example from SAP and not Zendesk because I think it functioned incredibly well at SAP. We had a team of about between 80 and 100 people that were broken down between uh, offshoring operations in India, Germany, Poland, and in Latin America. And these individuals, they all work together on all the different solutions underneath the SAP umbrella for customer experience as one global team, pulling together repeatable business processes. So I was a huge fan of getting to that 80% of repeatability so that we were just customizing and personalizing, the 20% sitting on top. But that did rely on a quite a large team behind the scenes, keeping the lights on for us for that. They were tightly tied with product and development, beta testing all of the new releases, and they were able to work with development then to be able to provide the best way to position it to pre-sales. So we got a lot of great sneak peeks into what was coming down the path because it was being released to us internally early. We also got to refine the messaging, which I think is half the battle. A lot of times in pre-sales, what you get given for product is the what. So here's what's coming. And then it's left to us to work out, oh, why did they do that? So we're trying to work out the why. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting that simultaneously as your customers are, you're then on the back foot because you haven't worked out what the story is, what your talk track is, what the differentiators are. So with that relationship, we were able to do all of that.
So your team wasn't just building; it was thinking. You were the critical thinkers of
yes.
of enabling others to give a really good demo.
Yes.
Yep. Eric, tell me about your similar challenges. I know you have new product releases all the time. How do you enable someone on something new and slip it into a demo or a story that you've had for years or that people are comfortable with?
Right. I mean, so the fun part of this is like literally, while we've got Sara who has a massive team, my team, not nearly as massive. So again, it's a little bit more scrappy. Everybody's wearing multiple hats. But at the same time, it also gives us a closer tie to product. And frankly, that's what really helps is I have my engineers literally neck deep in product all day, every day getting demos. But as well, then we've actually kind of tiger teamed them alongside with individual members of the product team so that we can get in front of those features so we're not just getting the what. I mean, frankly, we had a long kind of come to Jesus meeting with the product team where I said, I'm like, if I want to know the what, I can read your Jira tickets. That's helpful. But realistically, I need to know where and what context this is going to provide to the customer. And so being that real voice of the customer at the front line, just from the pre-sales process, is a big piece of the puzzle. But as well, then being able to build some of those repeatable processes where we've got that full story built, but that we're able to drop in new pieces and parcels into that mix quickly and easily stops us from having to re-engineer and reinvent the wheel literally every time my team changes something. And again, like they release every other week. It gets it's fun. You can't get bored unless you're not paying attention. So it keeps things interesting.
Open question to group here. How do you distribute that information that the pre-sales usually we're more connected to developers, to the product, where we're in their ear about feature requests and issues? How do you translate what's coming or what's new or what's valuable to AEs? How do you scale that information earlier in the process?
Go ahead, Sara. You got it. It's to you now.
Oh, okay.
You took it.
So that's a great. That's the holy grail, right? Is how do we get salespeople up to speed with the product so that they actually can do some of that selling before we actually need to go in and do demoing. Mm-hmm. I am a big fan of lunch and learns with their buddies, the great relationships that sales and pre-sales hopefully have within each of your organizations. your AE is going to want to be able to invest a little bit of time on a lunch and learn, getting up to speed with new product features and the messaging behind that. I know from experience in different companies that there's also the formal enablement with the certification path that goes with it. I've seen that being less successful. It seems to be just like a check the box rather than actually understanding what it is that's coming out. And you get that by doing a lot more than just sitting and watching. So I'm a huge fan of that as well. I've seen that being effectively leveraged. So Emily, you got any
Yeah.
other things you want to add on to that?
So I think there's two pieces. Can the rep demo it, and can we get it into the demo environment? And is it in beta, or is it in prod? Is it in alpha? Like, are we allowed to sell it yet? Or do customers have access to it? Like, there's a lot of pieces, and that's made it really tricky over time. Especially when like there's a big splashy announcement and enablement that goes for something that's in beta, but like you're not actually really allowed to sell it yet, or it just becomes very messy. But one thing that I feel like has improved over time is we have officially assigned a specific SE to a product area. We call them pillars. They are there to meet with that pillar, whether it's the program manager, the product manager, the product enablement, like all of the teams are responsible for taking that to market. And then their job is to communicate back to demo engineering, what do we need to build? But not, again, to your point, not just what do we need to build, but like, what's a story that makes sense with our fake environment, that we can actually speak to some effective value here. And I think just having people take ownership over that has helped just streamline that process a little bit more.
Yeah, and making really that SE team that front line to product. It also is nice in the sense that product doesn't feel like they have to buffer themselves away against sales. Because again, the sales team knows very effectively, great, because just like y'all, we've done something very similar in terms of that Tiger team where we pair our SEs with those particular product features. The great game that enables us to play is frankly that puts your SEs in a position where they're that kind of expert, they're that SME within the org, and as well as that they're able to really authentically come through and deliver that value message up front rather than it getting lost in kind of a feature review with the product team overall.
Totally.
But
yeah. I think a great pre-sales organization has a really strong tie-in and relationship with product, and that takes time to build sometimes, especially if you're coming into immature environments or you're struggling a little bit with multiple releases that are happening rapidly and you're trying to stay on top of it. But if you can get to that strong relationship between product and pre-sales, it really does help the whole go-to-market motion.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
And it's also helped to our product enablement team, like our actual sales enablement team. They'll work really closely in helping even define the course content, that we put out for sellers, right? Which gives it that additional spin and helps you scale yourself.
I have a controversial opinion. Sales enablement and demo operations. Are they the same? Are they different? How are they enabling your team to scale better earlier on in the funnel?
I don't think I want to touch that one.
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on. Let's switch to maybe the tools, because sales enablement is a big part. If I join a new company as a solutions engineer, where do I go to get my demos? How do I know what to demo? Who's helping me enable on what to show, what's valuable? What are our customer stories? What do you use, Eric? I know some of the things you use, but I'd love for you to explain here. How does that help your team grow? How does that take less work off you giving demos too early and spreading the love and getting more hands in there?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing that we do is it's really all about really getting that micro demo up front that we can actually put into the hands of the AEs. We're not wasting the SE team's time with erroneous random demos where people are kicking tires, where we've got the ever famed disco demo. It's not a thing, it won't be a thing, but at the same time, it's a fun idea that sales likes to toss out, but being able to educate our sales team to the point where they can really show off those value props up front. And we do certify them, but in the sense that they are literally walked through that demo stack demo where they've got the clickable interface with the cues. Then at that point are asked to functionally record that demo with them not using the queued version. And at that point, demonstrate their ability to actually play well with it. Again, I mean, you can't protect against all negative outcomes, but at the same time, it at least proves, okay, great, for this one moment in time, congrats, AE, you were able to do this and do it well. But from our SE enablement standpoint, realistically, it's a matter of then taking those pieces of the puzzle, looking back at some of the sales data that we're able to pull out of Salesforce, really looking back through, great, which of our workshops, which of our functional demos, which of our stakeholders and pieces to really be able to take a data-driven approach to this and drive that forward so that we can actually wind up pushing that needle further right alongside with our sales counterparts and the go-to-market team. So sorry, I think we answered it. But
yes, you did. You're using a variety of tools. You're using some type of a certification process, like riding a bike. You're a child, you're gonna, wear your training wheels first. You have to. You usually have to. You have to take some baby steps. We take them off, you're ready to go. You've learned how to ride the bike. But it's not just that bike we stop at. We're gonna, get another bike with bigger tires, gears. We're gonna enhance it. They know how to ride a bike now. We're gonna add more in. It's learning anything. So thank you for that, Eric. Emily, earlier you mentioned this like micro demo library that you have. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah. So part of it was like, as I mentioned, based off of this idea, and it was an anecdote that somebody said that like this SVP had requested a demo and they had to talk to 3 people before they ever saw the product, right? And just this idea that people are requesting a demo and we're giving them a call with an SDR. How do we get them a real taste of the product faster, right? But then it was also, of course, about being able to, like, let's say you're doing outbound with an account that's really important, and you set up a meeting. You say, hey, check out these videos, these micro demos. Anybody has time for 2 minutes, and then when you come to the call, we can have a better sense of like what our product does. And then finally, it sort of took off in our executive outreaches. So when a VP of sales reaches out to the CEO at a company and says, hey, we're working with your teams, we're really looking forward to working with you for a quick taste of what Pendo does, check out these micro demos, right? Because again, everyone has 2 minutes to check something out, but literally no one is going to go watch the recording of your hour and a half long demo, right? So we just built it ourselves. We have a license already with a video provider, but we built it into like a landing page. Like we bought a Heroku landing page, but we just recently got the marketing team to build it into our actual marketing site. It's an unlisted page though, so it still is something that somebody has to get a link to, because we want it to be like hey, you put your name into agreeing to speak with us, so here's a little bit something extra. But now we'll still be able to track that and attribute like the effectiveness across all marketing channels as well.
I love that approach of the reusability aspect of it. I think it has multiple applications. So Emily, just as what you were talking about, being able to drop those 2-minute demos into your prospects, they're great for new AEs to be able to get a flavor as well when they're onboarding, to just be able to say, oh, this is exactly what it looks like right now. I can start to dive deeper into it, but at least I know what it looks like when I'm talking to a customer. So it's great for new AEs. I think they're great leave behinds as well, as a reminder after you've done a demo. And then you can even, refer back to it, or if you're using some of those right demo tools, you can then customize that a little bit for exactly what you did show somebody, but it's still that 2-minute video at the end. Another application that was used at Zendesk was the things that are really difficult to customize. So external third-party integrations, like everyone wants to see integration into Salesforce, but if you're building that into every single customer demo, it becomes like it's labor intensive for pre-sales or demo operations to be able to get to that point. So if you've got that already pre-recorded and it's, it makes up 90 seconds, 2 minutes, that's something you can easily slot into your business process flow. So you're proving it, but you haven't had to build it specifically for every single customer that you're with. So huge fan of that. That whole reusable asset library is a great advantage within the pre-sales world.
Yeah, we did just that. We ended up building out a separate integration section, just for like integration partners, for account managers, things like that. So
I
definitely
love that.
valuable.
Reusability, it's that, like you said, is the 80-20, the 80 that you can reuse, the 20 you can personalize on top. It really can take maybe even a small team, like Eric's team is relatively small compared to you ladies, and expanding them, right? It's giving other people the ability to give the same demos. You're not only saving personal time, your time, but you're saving R&D time from figuring out how to hook it up to all your demo environments that might exist. You're saving the maintenance time. Oh, it updated. Now I have to update 100 different accounts. There's a lot that goes into maintaining this system. So finding those pockets, those areas that you can take, you can standardize, and you have an asset that is dynamic. And it's not necessarily the value of their company hooking up the Salesforce integration. It's the fact that you can show it and that they can see themselves in there, despite maybe not being as personalized as other areas of your app. All right, there's quite a topic in the chat here about the disco demo. Eric, you're very passionate about this. I'd just love for you to tell us what's on your mind.
So again, I'm like, especially because you deal with members of your team that come across a wide range of experience. Again, I think somebody called it out. I mean, Thomas called it out again. It is an art form by all means, and it requires the SE to really understand that platform and be ready to literally pivot on a dime. It can be done, and it can be appropriately positioned in a way that can work. However, in a larger majority of those cases, it's just a game of, well, the customer said they want to see the platform. Do we know their name? Do we know what they do? Do we know what they care about? Do we have any idea what we're actually talking toward? Or are we literally walking in blind to this because somebody said, I want a demo and I want it now, and are Veruca salting hard enough that our AE team doesn't want to push back?
I think I was just going to say, oh, lots of opinions. I was just going to say, I think that's exactly too what the micro demo concept, or giving somebody something in advance, is designed to eliminate, right? Because they already then understand what your product does. Because I mean, nothing's more annoying for a prospect to get on a call and get the third degree, have a ton of questions asked when they don't even know what you do yet, right? So it gives them a taste. And I think that's the spirit behind a disco demo, is you say like, hey, this is what we do. Let me ask you, how do you do it at your company, right? And so if they at least have some more context in advance, then that makes that discovery, disarms them a little bit more.
Totally. And I mean, discovery's never done. Let's be very bluntly clear. Like, I mean, there's always deeper holes to dig. It's just a matter of making sure we know vaguely where the X that marks the treasure spot is before we just start randomly digging holes.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, anything you want to add?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think you should be showing anything until you really understand what problem you're trying to solve. And I know that's a very controversial aspect. I love the fact of dropping in a teaser demo so they can actually see what it looks like. But, don't the sales guys get paid to qualify an opportunity? So shouldn't they know that what we do before we already walk through the door? And then it's, I feel quite strongly that it's pre-sales opportunity here to be able to build some credibility, build the trust as a partner with your customer. And they've got challenges that they want to solve. They've got problems that they want to fix. And they want to fix that with technology, which we won't know about until we've had a dialogue where we've spent a lot of time listening to the customer to be able to hear about that. And then being able to say, you know what, I think we might have a solution that will help you with that. And then going into all of that. Otherwise, if you're just showing up and the first thing you're doing is jumping into a demo without really understanding what the pain points are, what the challenges is, what the problems are on the table, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Lots of different trains of thoughts. I'm undecided. That's where I'm going to land today. I'm really curious. Does having the ability for AEs to get to have a library to pull something from, if they go into a discovery and the customer says, "Show me a demo," how do you think having a demo library results in faster deals for that very reason? That if a disco demo is bad, how can a micro demo augment that?
I mean, I think I kind of alluded to this before, but it goes back to the give and take. I, as the customer, want to get something before I give you information about my company. I need to see value, even in the smallest form, right? Even if it's just I know what your product does, right? Because I think they're like it's very different if it's an inbound opportunity. But a lot of us are out there like prospecting, trying to drum up interest, trying to get, through thousands of emails to get one meeting, right? To get somebody to be like, yeah, I'll see what you have, right? And so going into those conversations is very different, and having them primed better for that, I think, makes for a more effective conversation.
So when we have any type of demo, whether that's a leave behind or a top of the funnel marketing demo or a first call demo, even a SC more customized demo, how important are roles and permissions in the demo operations? And Eric, can you talk to me about how important that is for you and why it matters?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, governance is not sexy. It's pipes. Again, plumbing doesn't matter until you don't have it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if you don't have that governance set up front, things can go sideways so quickly. Like making sure that I have the appropriate demos to put in front of my sales team, that I'm able to use some of those things like we use. I think Clarity Copilot is the one that's actually popping up some of these links literally in calls with AEs, reminding them, hey, we heard these things, zip this demo over. This is a nice way to show it off in order to get there. And then, as well as that, to make sure that you've got the appropriate governance kind of tied around it, to make sure that you don't just have somebody who's like, well, cool, let's open this. And then they're showing off a clickable demo on a call with a prospect that they're inevitably going to burn. At that point, it's a game of making sure that you can set those permissions in pieces, so you're not just throwing all kinds of mess at the wall trying to hit something. And as well, that you give your team enough rope so that they can roam around the yard, but not enough to hang themselves.
Yeah, there is nothing worse than you as a pre-sales person having spent hours and hours, sometimes days and days, configuring a demo environment for a really important customer that's beautifully personalized and tailored and customized. And then you come in the next day and somebody's come into a shared environment and buggered it all up for you. There is nothing worse than that.
Yeah, ours was an issue of deletion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like, you think about it, if you have analytics or guides, you delete one of those, it's not easy to get it back. It like messes up all your reports.
Yeah.
And so what the IT installed extension does that we built, it actually like adds something to the elements. So when you hover over that delete button, it says this feature is not allowed in demo mode, right? And SEs can turn it off. Actually, everybody can turn it off, but we keep that as a secret. But the way we actually like sell it to newbies is like, hey, when you're in this demo environment, don't worry. Things that you can't click on are blocked, right? Like, you aren't going to be able to mess things up. And as a new person, nobody's ever like going in trying to mess things up. And so it adds a level of confidence for them to actually get in there and learn the product and feel comfortable doing some of that on their own.
Excellent. Thanks for that answer. I like that a lot. I think that's what we're after, right? To Eric's point, it's, we don't want to overwhelm a buyer. We also don't want to overwhelm our sellers. And so really focusing on those key values, even like a templatized approach to your library, right? If you're on a first call, we're gonna sandbox and guide you through what is a very high value driver for a healthcare company. And having those people to set up that demo library is really important. So I'm going to switch to data, because data is the topic of the day, right? Data-driven demos. And how can we scale with data-driven demos? What type of data, Sara, do you collect from the beginning of the sales cycle demos? Not inbound, but they're a prospect, we're meeting with them. What type of data do you collect, and how do you use that to inform the demos that they're giving at that stage?
So we're collecting data. I like to collect data at all touch points of a customer engagement. So I want to find out how much time somebody is spending in discovery. I want to find out how much time they're spending in customer preparation, what those ratios are. Being able to look at the ratios between customer prep to customer demo time. Back in the SAP days, it used to be, I was trying to shoot for 4 hours of demo prep for every hour in front of the customer. In the SaaS world, it would be a whole lot less, because hopefully you're being able to take some things that are off the shelf a little bit easier. So definitely looking and analyzing those ratios. And then looking at anything else that is customer touch points. So, how much time are we spending answering an RFP, which is not really demo related, but it's customer data that I'm looking for to get to a good customer outcome. So the good customer outcome is a signed contract, obviously. And then an even better customer outcome is that they've adopted and then renewed, right? Which brings up a whole nother topic of conversation. Is like in SaaS, where do we back out? So should we be continually engaged for retention and renewal and adoption? It's a whole other topic, I'm sure. Anyway, yes. So lots of different data around that.
Eric, what about you?
So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm like, we got data coming from every which direction. Again, I'm like, to say that the limit on data doesn't exist is wishful, but at the same time, again, it's pulling the insights out of it that actually matter, right? And so for us, it's really a matter of looking at, okay, great. For our successful SEs and successful AEs, how are we seeing them engage? Who are they engaging with? And how are they engaging? What kinds of products and features? And I mean, honestly, just like multiple people have said, are we 100% there? Absolutely not. But being able to really look at and make this repeatable, right alongside utilizing some of the tools in Demo Stack, some of the tools that we have as well in terms of call analysis, really being able to play those pieces through so that I can help my teams functionally decide, great, what is going to be that proper investment of time, not necessarily in just like that overarching metric in terms of great 4 hours to go. It's great, when do I reach the point where it's literally just a diminishing return? How can I jump in front of that for my either less experienced or potentially errantly down the wrong road SEs that at very experienced levels who will sometimes go down a rabbit hole and I have to go and help them dig out. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of being able to surface it competently and as well be able to say, here's why, here's what we have actually surfaced, and this is why we know that while you think it's necessary to spend 25 hours actually perfecting this demo environment, I love this, it's delightful, but you probably lopped off the value about 12 hours ago. And frankly, you're going to make a larger mess if you continue down this road. But as well, even in that early sales cycle, it's a matter of having your sales team who wants to ask every single question on a form that they have a customer submit before they actually even come into a discovery meeting. But instead being able to pull out those pieces in terms of what they're browsing, where they're looking, what they're downloading, how they're playing, and getting our marketing team to kind of distill those insights into something that's actually usable, so that then we can use those as informers as they walk in the same way that we use those deep insights on the backside. And yeah, Sara, I'm not even going to touch the renewal side. We'll go there later.
I was going to say that there is a whole host of other metrics that we value, and I guess it can be extrapolated down to the demo, because it will be things like, what's the win rate when you've got an SE attached? So an SE now is being engaged in that sales cycle rather than being, customer driven, maybe if you're in that side of an environment. So, comparing win rates for that, looking at how much revenue touch, looking at revenue per head, so there's a whole host of other metrics around measuring the effectivity of pre-sales that I guess you could actually tie to demo automation and the data that surrounds that to be able to justify it. In fact, the session right before us, I loved some of those metrics that he was talking about. I think that's definitely very, very valuable when you're expecting pre-sales to have a seat at the table with a CRO.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you have to earn that seat at the end of the day. I mean, and the way you do it is, again, talking in their language. If I can really talk about, great, what's my return per hour invested for each of these demos? Why is it important for us to, customize these pieces, but not those?
Yeah.
If I can tie that back to sales at the end of the day, it's the fastest path to value, no matter what way you cut that cake.
Yep.
Definitely. Question for you all regarding prove that it's worth it. One thing I've noticed is when an AE uses a demo to win a deal, they become an instant champion of that process. Do you have the same experience? Can you give me an anecdote of when that happened? I saw some nods.
I guess, I mean, maybe what do you mean by that, when they use a demo? Like, what kind of demo? Because I mean, I've not seen any deal won without a demo.
Right.
Yeah.
So mostly I'm talking about those early stage demos, those demos that are reproducible, they're reusable, and they meet that 80-20 rule. How, getting someone who's never demoed before to start demoing is a challenge. Change is hard, and it is a challenge in itself. And with demo operations, that's the goal, is to spread the love, do better with less. So how does empowering someone to give a demo, they succeed, how does that impact the org? I've seen personally that when one succeeds, the others are on board. So I'm wondering if this is a way to success, to expand and to scale earlier, and how we can use data to prove it. Because I think when we prove it, we get believers.
I think that if I look back over my career, 25 years plus in tech, working with some phenomenal AEs and working with some mediocre and not so good AEs, the phenomenal AEs all have several things in common. So that is, all the phenomenal AEs that I've won lots of good business with, they all understand the solution, right? They take the time to go through the enablement to be able to actually understand what it is that they're being asked to sell, and are comfortable enough to be able to do at least a 3 to 5 minute demo in that solution. So that's the phenomenal AEs that I work with. That's one of the common denominators. I think that you and people admire other people, right? So one of the things that I have found that works really well is if you can get a couple of good success stories out there where the AE has taken that approach, then the people who are struggling to meet quota will look and see, okay, what are they doing differently? What are they doing that I'm not, that I can learn from? At least you hope they do, so that they can then embrace some of that and start adopting that approach themselves.
Right. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, realistically, on top of that, it's a matter of seeing that kind of moment of empowerment when you finally see that first one work is by
Yeah.
far one of the most lovely things about working along with your AE team, to be able to put some of these bare bones little demo assets really into their hands. But as well, even more emphatically, it's like watching a child who just learned how to walk. Good luck stopping them now. They're going to be running all over your house. It's great, but at the same time, again, that confidence boost, especially early on, yeah, it's absolutely essential. But yeah, Ryan, 100% agreed. If you don't know the software,
Yeah.
why are you selling it? It's problematic on multiple levels.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, we have 5 minutes left. We don't have a ton of questions in the chat. We just covered one of them about metrics and deal success, trial versus after demo. I'm not sure if that's directly for our team. I'd love to leave the group here with just like a statement about your demo operations. You three have built a powerful machine. where you have assets at different levels of the sales cycle and you maintain them and they're operationalized. So what's the, if someone's not operationalized, they feel like they don't know where to start, where would you get started? If you could give one piece of advice, let's go in a circle, starting with Emily.
Where would you get started? Well, so I think the unique thing that I bring to this conversation is that I didn't do most of this with tools. I did it with humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't use DemoStack at Pendo, right? But I had the budget, and well, I don't even know if it was budget. We all remember 2021. I hired people with tons of experience. But once that stuff was built, realistically, we built the foundational elements. I didn't need 2 full-time people anymore. The one moved to a solution architect role, great technical experience. The other has broadened her role into more of just general SE operations. Now, the demo engineering, demo environment is one of the programs she manages, but there's other things, right? So just keeping in mind that, like, we built a lot of stuff inclusive of, what I already mentioned. So the micro demos, the extension to help block people. There's also scripts running to trigger data. We built a new version of our dummy app. We also, that same extension injects different data sets into the UI. There's a lot of things are there, but now we're in maintenance mode, right? So I think if you're going to solve the challenge with humans, just keeping in mind what is the level and scope of work, and is it something that is a long-term project, or is it something that maybe you solve in the short term and then reallocate those people. So I think that's just the experience that we had. We are in a really good shape now. A lot of the changes that need to be made are more like, how do we get this new feature in, and less like, how do we fix our data problem? Those kinds of things. So maintenance versus kind of starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Eric?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, and like the biggest game is get started, build something. Like literally, it does not need to be perfect. You are not building a castle. We're literally building demo assets here. Get down to those pieces of the product that you know are pieces that your product team and as well that your overarching sales team has seen showcased, and build it piece by piece. Like treat this like a Lego set. You can build it into a house, you can build it into a castle. I really don't care, but it's the way that you're assembling it. So again, getting that 1.0 out the door, being willing to take it where it's just bluntly not going to be perfect. And then at that point, then building in those modular pieces across the board in a way that's actually going to enable you to get something into the hands of your go-to-market team faster and more efficiently. Because again, I'm like, thank God, I'm envious that y'all had people teams to do all of this. We have to hack it a little bit harder, but at the same time, there are tools out here that enable this to be an easier lift. And as well, it's a matter of functionally looking at the different ways you can assemble those pieces together to make something functional as quickly as possible in that early sales layer, and then building additional pieces on top. Like we built that kind of like 10-click demo for our AEs. We built a generic one. Now we've started to specialize that, building it into particular verticals. Now we're adding in additional features. Now we're adding more on top. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I think I think honestly, everybody here can really speak to that. This is not an immediate game, but at the same time, it's going to be fun.
Love it. So we are out of time. Barry's going to jump in here any minute. Sara, I love what you said about reusability and 80/20. Like to me, that's key. It's get started. It's figure out your foot in the door. It's empower the right people. So thank you all for joining in the discussion. I thought that was great.
Awesome.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah.